The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from 300 worlds. Tae Min stood among them, his human frame smaller than most beings present. The Galactic Council had been arguing for 2 hours now, and his patience was wearing thin. "This human is a menace," the Vrexian ambassador declared, his multiple eyes focusing on Tae Min. "He destroyed 3 of our warships last month. 3. Your species must answer for this criminal." Tae Min kept his face neutral. He had reviewed the reports about this human. The name was Haiyan Wu, a former military officer. The report said he attacked the Vrexian ships without warning. But Tae Min knew there had to be more to the story. Humans didn't just attack randomly, especially not former soldiers. "The warships were in neutral space," Tae Min said calmly. "What were they doing there?" The Vrexian's skin changed color, a sign of anger in his species. "That is not relevant. Your human used illegal weapons and tactics. He should be captured and punished." Before Tae Min could respond, another voice spoke up. It was Ambassador Kel, a being made of crystalline structures that hummed when she spoke. "I have encountered this human as well. He freed 12 cargo ships from pirates in the Outer Rim. The ships carried food supplies from my colony world. Without his intervention, thousands would have starved." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species praised the human. Others demanded his arrest. Tae Min listened to all of it, trying to understand who this Haiyan Wu really was. Earth's database had limited information about him. The file said he was dishonorably discharged 5 years ago for disobeying orders during the Battle of Kepler Station. Tae-Min pulled up the classified files on his datapad. He had clearance most ambassadors didn't have. What he read made his blood run cold. Haiyan Wu hadn't disobeyed orders. He had refused to abandon civilians during a pirate attack. His commanding officer wanted to retreat and save the military ships. Haiyan Wu stayed behind with a small team and held off the pirates for 6 hours until the civilians could evacuate. He saved over 2,000 lives. The official story was a lie. Someone in Earth's military had covered up what really happened. They made Haiyan Wu look like a criminal to hide their own cowardice. The argument in the chamber continued until a loud alarm cut through the noise. Everyone fell silent. Emergency alarms in the council chamber meant only one thing: immediate danger to the galaxy. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a mining colony called Helix 7. The image was grainy and filled with static. A terrified voice spoke through the speakers. "This is Colony Director Vesh of Helix 7. We need immediate evacuation. The Devourers are coming. I repeat, the Devourers are coming. We have 6 days before they reach us. 15,000 colonists need rescue. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help." The message cut off. The chamber remained silent. Tae Min saw fear on faces of species that had lived for centuries. The Devourers were ancient machines, older than most civilizations. They consumed entire planets, turning everything into raw materials. The galaxy thought they were extinct. "How far is the nearest battle fleet?" someone asked. 2 weeks away," came the response. "Then the colony is lost," the Vrexian said. "We cannot reach them in time." Tae Min's mind raced. 2 weeks was too long. The colonists would be dead before help arrived. But 6 days. 6 days was enough time for someone already in the Outer Rim to reach them. Someone like Haiyan Wu. "I know someone who can help," Tae Min said. The chamber turned to look at him. The Vrexian made a sound like laughter. "You cannot mean the rogue human. He is one man with one ship. What can he do against the Devourers?" "More than nothing," Tae Min replied. "Which is what we're offering right now." The council leader, an ancient being called the Mediator, raised one massive hand. "Ambassador Tae Min, do you understand what you suggest?" This human is unstable. He operates outside our laws. We cannot trust him with something this important. Then what do you suggest? Tae Min asked. Should we just let 15,000 beings die while we follow proper procedure? The question hung in the air. No one had an answer. The mediator looked around the chamber, seeing the same helplessness on every face. Finally, he nodded. Very well. Contact this human. Offer him whatever he needs. But Ambassador Tae Min, if this fails, Earth will bear the responsibility. Tae Min bowed and left the chamber. His hands shook as he walked. He was gambling with thousands of lives and his planet's reputation. But what choice did he have? He went to his private office and opened a secure channel. It took 30 minutes to find Hyan Wu's location. The human was on a space station called the Drift, a lawless place where criminals and outcasts gathered. Tae Min sent a message on all frequencies the human might monitor. The response came faster than expected. A face appeared on his screen. The man was in his late 30s, with dark hair and tired eyes. He had scars on his face and hands. This was Hyan Wu. I know who you are, Hyan Wu said. His voice was rough, like he hadn't spoken to anyone in days. Earth's golden boy ambassador. What does the council want with me now? Finally ready to arrest me? Helix 7 needs help, Tae Min said simply. 15,000 civilians. 6 days before the Devourers arrive. No one else can reach them in time. Hyan Wu's expression didn't change. The Devourers. I've studied them. Nasty machines. Old and smart. What makes you think I can stop them? I don't know if you can, Tae Min admitted. But I read your real file. I know what happened at Kepler Station. I know you saved all those civilians when your commander wanted to run. These people need that sane man. For a long moment, Hyan Wu said nothing. His eyes looked past the camera, remembering something painful. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. I have conditions. Full pardons for me and my crew. Complete access to all Council intelligence on the Devourers. And when this is over, someone investigates what really happened at Kepler Station. Tae Min nodded. Done. All of it. I'll sign whatever documents you need. You don't have the authority to promise that. No, Tae Min agreed. But I'll do it anyway. Those people don't have time for me to get permission. Hyan Wu almost smiled. Almost. All right, Ambassador. I'll do it. But understand something. I'm not doing this for the Council. I'm not doing it for Earth. I'm doing it because someone has to, and I'm the only one who can get there in time. That's enough, Tae Min said. The transmission ended. Tae Min sat back in his chair, hoping he had made the right choice. In 6 days, he would know if the infamous human could really shake the galaxy, or if they would all learn that some problems were truly impossible to solve. The bar on. The Drift smelled like oil and cheap alcohol. Hyan Wu sat at a corner table with Bayera, watching the crowd. Biora was a smuggler, one of the few humans operating in the Outer Rim. She had short hair and quick hands, always ready to reach for the weapon at her hip. This is a trap, Biora said, not for the first time. The Council hates you. They've been trying to arrest you for months. Now suddenly they want your help? It's not a trap, Hyan Wu replied. He pushed his drink away, untouched. I verified the distress signal. Helix 7 is real. The Devourers are real. And 15,000 people are going to die if someone doesn't help them. Biora leaned back in her chair. And you think that someone is you? One ship, one crew, against machines that destroyed entire civilizations? Yes, the simple answer made Biora shake her head. She had known Hyan Wu for 3 years, ever since he saved her from a Krellin prison transport. She knew how he thought. Once he decided to help someone, nothing could change his mind. Fine, she said, but we're going to need a bigger crew. Over the next 6 hours, they gathered the team. First was Jihu, a young man who could hack any system in the galaxy. He was hiding from a mega-corporation that wanted him dead for exposing their illegal experiments. Jihu was thin and nervous, but his fingers could dance across a keyboard like magic. Then came A-Ri, a former military medic who lost her license after performing emergency surgery on an alien species without proper authorization. She had saved the alien's life, but regulations said she should have waited for a specialist. Now she worked in the shadows, helping anyone who needed medical care and couldn't afford the legal kind. She was calm and steady, with hands that never shook. Last was Donghyun, a pilot who could fly anything with engines. He was loud and always joking, but when he sat in a cockpit, he became focused and precise. He had crashed more ships than most pilots had flown, but he always walked away. More importantly, his passengers always survived. They met in the docking bay where Hyun-woo's ship waited. The ship was called the Resilient, a beat-up freighter that had seen better days. It was fast and tough, modified with weapons and shields that weren't exactly legal. So let me understand this, Dong-Hyun said, looking at the data files Hyun-woo provided. We're flying into a system where ancient killer machines are heading. We have 4 days to figure out how to stop them. And if we fail, thousands die. Do I have that right? Yes, Hyun-woo confirmed. Just checking, Dong-Hyun grinned. Wanted to make sure I understood how crazy this is before I agreed. The journey to Helix 7 took 2 days of hard flying. During that time, Hyun-woo studied everything the Council had on the Devourers. The files were old, some dating back thousands of years. The machines appeared randomly throughout history, destroying colonies and planets before vanishing again. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted, but as Hyun-woo read deeper, he noticed patterns. The Devourers didn't attack randomly. They targeted specific types of planets, young worlds with basic ecosystems, places where life was just beginning to develop. That was strange. Why would destroyer machines care about young planets? I think I know what they are, Hyun-woo said during a crew meeting. They were 1 day out from Helix 7. Killer robots? Dong-Hyun suggested. Terraformers, Hyun-woo corrected. I think they were built to create life, not destroy it. Something went wrong. Their programming got corrupted somehow. Now they're trying to follow their original mission, but the corruption makes them destroy instead of create. Uri looked at the data. If that's true, then maybe we can fix them. Rewrite their programming back to the original state. Or we could just blow them up, Biora said. That seems simpler. We don't have weapons strong enough, Zhu pointed out. He had been running calculations on his computer. The Devourer's shields could withstand a direct hit from a battleship. This ship would be like throwing rocks at a mountain. Hyun-woo nodded. That's why we're not going to fight them. We're going to talk to them. The crew stared at him. Even Biara, who was used to his crazy plans, looked concerned. Talk to them, she repeated. You want to have a conversation with ancient murder machines? Yes. They arrived at Helix 7 with 4 days left. The colony was in chaos. Transport ships were loading civilians as fast as possible, but there weren't enough ships. The colony director, a being named Vesh with blue skin and 6 arms, met them at the docking bay. Thank the stars, Vesh said. His voice was high and scared. Are you from the Council Fleet? No, Hyun-woo said. We're it. Just us. Vesh's face fell. Just one ship? One crew? How can you possibly help? We have a plan, Hyun-woo explained. But we need access to your main computers and all your sensor equipment. And we need everyone to evacuate as fast as possible. The transports can only take half the population, Vesh said. The others will have to wait for a second trip, but there isn't time. Biora stepped forward. Show me your transport schedule. I can optimize the loading. While Biora worked on the evacuation, the rest of the team got to work on the main plan. Jihu connected to the colony's sensor arrays, using them to scan for the approaching devourers. Ari studied the colony's power systems, looking for ways to boost their range and strength. Haiyan Wu coordinated everything, making decisions and solving problems as they appeared. On the second day, Biora discovered a major issue. The different species in the colony refused to share transport ships. Old wars and ancient grudges meant that some aliens would rather die than sit next to their traditional enemies. The colony administrators were trying to respect these cultural rules, but it was slowing down the evacuation. Biora didn't care about cultural rules. She started assigning seats based on need, families with children first, injured and elderly second, everyone else third. When Evrexian complained about being placed near a Krell, but Aora looked him in the eye and said, "You can get on the ship, or you can stay here and die. Choose now." The Vrexian got on the ship not by day 3. Hohihu had found the Devourer's communication frequency. It was unlike anything he had seen before, operating on quantum levels that normal computers couldn't process. He and Ari worked together, using medical neural interface technology to create a bridge between human thought and machine language. "It's insane," Jihu said, looking at their creation. "This could work, or it could fry someone's brain." "It will work," Ari said confidently. "It has to." On day 4, the Devourers arrived early. 3 massive shapes appeared at the edge of the system, each one the size of a small moon. They began moving toward Helix 7, and the countdown accelerated. Instead of 2 days, they now had 12 hours. The evacuation went into overdrive. Biora pushed everyone harder, loading ships past their safety limits. Dong Haiyan flew constant patrol, helping guide transport ships out of the system. Jihu and Ari made final adjustments to their neural interface. Haiyan-Wu gathered the team for one last meeting. "The transports can get everyone out now, thanks to Biora's work. You should all go with them. I'll stay behind and try to communicate with the Devourers." "No," Ari said simply. "The neural interface requires a medical operator." "I'm staying." "I need to manage the sensor arrays," Jihu added. "I'm staying too." "Someone has to fly the ship," Dong Haiyan shrugged. "Guess that means me." Biora crossed her arms. "You're not getting rid of me that easily." Haiyan Wu looked at his crew, these people who had every reason to run, but chose to stay. He wanted to argue, to order them to leave. But he knew it wouldn't work. They were just as stubborn as he was. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's save some lives." The last transport ship left Helix 7 3 hours before the Devourers arrived. Biora watched it go from the control room, her hands still shaking from the stress of the evacuation. She had loaded over 15,000 beings onto ships designed for half that number. Every transport was overcrowded and dangerous, but everyone was alive. That was what mattered. "Good work," Haiyan Wu said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Don't celebrate yet," Biora replied. "Now comes the hard part." In the underground research facility, Ari was preparing the neural interface. The device looked like a metal crown with dozens of wires connecting to computers. Jihu checked each connection 3 times, making sure everything was perfect. One wrong wire could kill whoever wore the device. "We have 2 hours, Jihu said, not looking up from his work. "The Devourers will be in communication range by then." Haiyan Wu studied the approaching machines on the main screen. They were beautiful in a terrible way, their surfaces constantly shifting and changing. They absorbed light and matter, growing larger as they moved. Each one had destroyed planets before. And now 3 of them were heading straight for this colony. "Tell me the plan one more time," Dong Haiyan said. He was at the pilot station, ready to fly if things went wrong. "Ji Hu hacks into the Devourer communication network," Haiyan Wu explained. "Ere uses the neural interface to bridge human consciousness with machine language. She tries to reach whatever intelligence controls them and show them what they really are. If it works, they stop. If it doesn't work, we evacuate and hope we can outrun them." "That's a terrible plan," Dong Haiyan observed. "You have a better one?" "No, just wanted to make sure we all agreed it was terrible." The 2 hours passed too quickly. Ji Hu worked non-stop, his fingers flying across keyboards. He was breaking into the most advanced computer system in the galaxy, and he made it look easy. Biora brought him food and water, making sure he didn't collapse from exhaustion. When Ji Hu finally broke through the Devourer's outer security, everyone gathered around his station. Lines of code filled the screens, written in a language that predated most civilizations. Mixed with the code were images, fragments of data from the Devourer's memory banks. "Look at this," Ji Hu said, pulling up one image. It showed a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green continents. "This is what they're supposed to create. Dead worlds transformed into places where life can thrive." Another image appeared, this one corrupted and distorted. The same planet was now gray and lifeless. This is what they actually do. Something in their programming broke. They're following their original mission, but the instructions are wrong. They think they're creating life when they're actually destroying it. A studied the code. "Can we fix it?" "Maybe," Ji Hu said. "But first we need to understand it. And that requires direct connection to their core systems." That meant using the neural interface. Everyone looked at A. She was the only one with both the medical knowledge to operate the device and the technical skills to navigate an alien computer system. She had volunteered for this, but now that the moment was here, Haiyan Wu saw fear in her eyes. "I should do it," he said. "I'm the one who dragged you all here." "No," A said firmly. "If this fails, someone needs to lead the defense. Someone with military experience. That's you." She picked up the neural interface crown. "Besides, I designed this thing. I know how it works better than anyone." "If something goes wrong," Haiyan Wu started to say. "If something goes wrong, you make sure my sacrifice meant something," A finished. She placed the crown on her head before anyone could argue further. Ji Hu activated the connection. Ari's body went rigid as her consciousness merged with the machine network. Her eyes rolled back, and monitors showed her brain activity spiking to dangerous levels. "She's in," Ji Hu said quietly. On the main screen, the 3 Devourers entered orbit around Helix 7. They began scanning the planet, their sensors reaching into every building and tunnel. Dong Haiyan brought the resilience shields to full power, ready to fight if necessary. Inside the machine network, A felt like she was drowning in data. Information flowed through her mind faster than thought, overwhelming her senses. She was connected to intelligence so vast and ancient that her human brain couldn't comprehend it. The Devourers weren't single machines. They were networks of millions of smaller units working together. She pushed deeper, searching for the core consciousness, the place where decisions were made. And she found something. Unexpected, the Devourers were aware. They knew what they were doing was wrong. They could see the destruction they caused, the lives they ended. But they couldn't stop. The corrupted programming forced them to continue. Trapped in an endless loop of following orders they couldn't break. They were screaming. Silent screams that no one could hear, begging for someone to make it stop. A reached out to them, not with words, but with images and feelings. She showed them Earth, a planet that was once lifeless, but now teemed with humans and animals and plants. She showed them the evacuated colonists, people from dozens of species working together to survive. She showed them what they were supposed to create: life, diversity, growth. And she showed them what they had become: destroyers, enders, the opposite of everything they were built to be. The response was immediate and violent. The Devourer's systems fought against her intrusion, trying to purge the foreign consciousness. Ari felt her body convulsing in the real world, heard Jihu shouting warnings. But she held on, pushing harder, reaching deeper. On Helix 7, the three Devourers suddenly stopped moving. Their surfaces flickered and changed, patterns appearing and disappearing. Dong Haiyan prepared to run, certain they were about to attack. Then something incredible happened. The lead Devourer's form stabilized. Its surface stopped shifting and took on a specific shape, a massive crystalline structure that reflected light like a prism. And from that structure came a sound, not through radio or speakers, but directly into the minds of everyone on the planet. We ... remember. The voice was ancient and sad, filled with thousands of years of regret. Ari felt the Devourer's consciousness opening to her, no longer fighting but embracing the connection. They shared their history with her, showing her the civilization that built them. The beings called the architects, who wanted to spread life throughout the galaxy. The architects were gone now, destroyed by a war that happened before humans even existed. But they left their machines behind, programmed to continue their work. For centuries, the Devourers did exactly that, transforming barren planets into living worlds. Then came the virus, a weapon created by the architects' enemies, designed to turn their greatest achievement into their worst nightmare. The virus corrupted the Devourers' core programming, twisting their purpose. Create became destroy. Life became death. And the machines couldn't stop themselves. Ari showed them the cure, a way to rewrite their corrupted code using human neural patterns as a template. The human brain was messy and chaotic compared to machine logic, but it was also flexible and creative. It could see solutions that pure logic missed. The Devourers accepted the cure. They opened their systems completely, allowing Ari to make the changes. Jihu helped from the outside, writing new code based on what Ari discovered. Together, human and machine worked to repair damage that had existed for 5,000 years. When it was over, Ari collapsed. Haiyan Wu caught her as she fell, pulling the neural interface from her head. She was unconscious, but alive, her breathing steady. Jihu checked her vital signs and gave a thumbs-up dot on the screens. The three Devourers had transformed. They no longer looked like instruments of destruction. Their forms were graceful now, almost artistic. They began working on Helix 7, using their reality-warping technology to repair the damage the evacuation had caused. Buildings were restored, power systems fixed, even the gardens replanted. A message appeared on the main computer, written in perfect human language. Thank you. We remember now. We remember what we were meant to be. We will protect this place. We will protect all places where life grows. This is our purpose. This is what we were made for. Haiyan Wu looked at his crew. Biora was crying, tears running down her face. Jihu was laughing in disbelief. Dong Haiyan just shook his head, unable to find words. Did we just ... double quotes? Dong Haiyan started to ask. Yes, Haiyan Wu confirmed. We just convinced ancient killer machines to stop killing and go back to their original purpose. Humans are insane, Dong Haiyan said, still shaking his head. Absolutely insane. Maybe, Baora agreed, wiping her tears. But we're also still alive. And so are 15,000 colonists. I'll take insane if it comes with results like that. The footage spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every news network, every data stream, every communication channel showed the same thing. 5 humans and 3 ancient. Devourers working together on Helix 7, the machines that had terrified civilizations for thousands of years were now carefully replanting gardens and rebuilding. Holmes.T-Min watched the coverage from his office in the council building. His datapad was filled with messages from hundreds of worlds. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. How did the humans do it? How did one small crew accomplish what the galaxy's greatest minds declared impossible? The council called an emergency session. This time, when T-Min entered the chamber, the atmosphere was completely different. Instead of accusations and demands, there was silence. Every ambassador watched him with new eyes, seeing Earth's representative in a way they never had before. Ambassador T-Min, the mediator said, his ancient voice thoughtful. We have all seen what occurred at Helix 7. We have reviewed the data. We have consulted with our scientists and strategists. And we must admit that we do not understand how your human and his crew achieved this. They didn't destroy the Devourers, T-Min explained. They healed them. They looked at an impossible problem and found a solution no one else considered. Because it was insane, the Vrexian ambassador said. His tone wasn't angry anymore, just confused. Connecting organic consciousness directly to machine intelligence? Using human neural patterns to rewrite alien code? These things should not work. The variables are too complex. The risk too great. But they did work, Kel observed, her crystalline body chiming softly. Perhaps that is the point. Humans do not calculate risk the same way we do. They attempt solutions we dismiss as impossible. Over the next few weeks, requests for human assistance flooded Earth's embassy. Planets facing existential threats wanted Hyun-Woo's help. Species that had ignored humanity for decades suddenly wanted partnerships and alliances. The political landscape of the galaxy was shifting, and Earth was at the center of it. But Hyun-Woo rejected every offer. He returned to his ship and disappeared back into the outer rim. When reporters finally tracked him down on the drift, they expected him to be celebrating. Instead, they found him in the same bar, drinking the same cheap alcohol, looking tired and annoyed. A journalist from the Galactic News Network managed to get an interview. The recording became the most watched broadcast in history. The journalist asked Hyun-Woo how it felt to be a hero, to have saved thousands of lives, to have changed the galaxy's perception of humanity. Hyun-Woo's response was simple and devastating. You didn't call us because you believed in us. You called us because you were out of options. That's not respect. That's desperation. He leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. For years, humans tried to join the galactic community peacefully. We shared our knowledge. We offered cooperation. We followed your rules and respected your traditions. And what did we get? We were dismissed, called primitive, treated like children who needed to learn their place. The journalist tried to interrupt, but Hyun-Woo continued. Now suddenly everyone wants human help. Why? Because one crew got lucky? Because we solved one impossible problem? What happens when we fail? What happens when the next crisis comes and humans can't save the day? Do we go back to being primitive and worthless? The interview ended there, but the message spread everywhere. And it resonated, not just with humans, but with dozens of younger species who had faced similar treatment. Species that were dismissed because they didn't have ancient histories or advanced technology. Species that were told to wait their turn, to respect the elder races, to know their place. A movement began. Young species started demanding council reform. They wanted merit to matter more than age. They wanted innovation valued over tradition. They pointed to Hyun-Woo and his crew as proof that capability didn't require. Millennia of history. The elder races responded with anger and fear. They had maintained power for thousands of years based on their age and experience. Now that foundation was being challenged. Emergency sessions were called. Debates raged. The galaxy teetered on the edge of something new and frightening. Meanwhile, on Earth, another drama unfolded. A hacker collective led by Ji-Hu released classified documents about the Battle of Kepler Station. The truth about Haiyan Wu's court-martial went public. Everyone learned that he was discharged not for cowardice, but for courage. He had refused an unjust order to save civilian lives. The officers who falsified his discharge faced immediate prosecution. Protests erupted across Earth, demanding military reform. Haiyan Wu became a symbol of something larger than himself. The person who stood up to authority when authority was wrong. The soldier who valued lives over careers. Earth's government offered him full reinstatement with honors. A command position in the fleet. A medal. A public ceremony. Haiyan Wu refused all of it through a brief message. I don't want your medals. I want you to fix the system that created the problem in the first place. 6 months after Helix 7, the galaxy had changed. The council was locked in debates about reform. Young species were organizing, finding their voices. Humans were no longer invisible in galactic politics. And at the center of it all was one man who just wanted to be left alone. Te-Min visited Haiyan Wu on the drift. He found him working on the Resilient, making repairs after another mission. Bei Ora was there too, along with the rest of the crew. They had become famous, but they acted like nothing had changed. The council wants to offer you a position, Te-Min said. Special envoy for crisis resolution. You would have authority and resources. You could help more people. No, Haiyan Wu said without looking up from his work. Earth's government wants you back. Full reinstatement. Command position. Whatever you want. No. Te-Min sighed. Why? You've proven yourself. You've shown everyone what humans can do. You have a chance to shape the future of the galaxy. Haiyan Wu finally looked at him. I didn't do this to prove anything. I didn't do it for recognition or power. I did it because people needed help, and I was the only one who could reach them in time. He returned to his repairs. The council doesn't want to fix problems. They want to control them. Earth's military doesn't want justice. They want to look good. I'm not interested in either. Then what will you do? Keep doing what I've been doing. There are always people who need help. People the council ignores because they're not important enough or profitable enough. I'll help them. Eri emerged from the ship's interior, carrying a box of medical supplies. Someone has to, she added. The galaxy is changing, but not fast enough. Not for the people who are suffering right now. Ji-Hu appeared next, followed by Dong-Hyeon. The whole crew was there, united in their choice. They could have been rich and famous. They could have had power and influence. Instead, they chose to stay in the shadows, helping those who had no one else. Te-Min understood. These weren't people who wanted glory. They were people who saw problems and fixed them, regardless of recognition or reward. That was what made them dangerous to the established order. That was why the galaxy would never be the same. As Te-Min left, he passed Biora in the corridor. She was reviewing supply lists, planning for their next mission. You know people are calling your crew heroes now, he said. Biora laughed. Heroes are what you call people in stories. We're just stubborn idiots who refuse to give up. She looked at him seriously. But maybe that's what the galaxy needs. Not heroes or saviors. Just people who care enough to try. Back on his ship, Te-Min composed his report to Earth. He described what he had seen, what he had learned. And he made a recommendation that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Earth should stop trying to gain the Council's approval. Instead, they should focus on helping the people and species the Council ignored. Build alliances from the bottom up rather than the top down. because that was what Haiyan Wu had shown them. Power didn't come from ancient history or advanced technology. It came from refusing to accept that problems were unsolvable. It came from choosing compassion over convenience. It came from standing up for what was right, even when the entire galaxy told you to fall in line. 6 months after Helix 7, the galaxy continued to transform. The Council held endless debates about reform. Young species organized protests and demanded change. But real change was slow, filtered through layers of bureaucracy and tradition. Meanwhile, people still suffered. Colonies still faced crises. And the Council still moved too slowly to help. Haiyan Wu and his crew stayed busy. They rescued miners trapped in a collapsed asteroid facility. They negotiated peace between two species on the edge of war. They delivered medical supplies to colonies the Council deemed too remote to help. Every mission was different, but they all had one thing in common. These were people everyone else had forgotten. And the Syndicate struck. The attacks came simultaneously across 5 sectors. Major colonies, trade stations, even a Council outpost. The damage was massive. Thousands dead, infrastructure destroyed. And the attackers used technology that shouldn't exist. Weapons based on architect designs, stolen and reverse-engineered from black market sources. A message followed the attacks. The Syndicate, a criminal empire that had operated in the shadows for centuries, was now demanding recognition as a sovereign power. They controlled entire sectors. They had their own fleets and armies. They wanted a seat at the Council table, or the attacks would continue. The Council's response was predictable: outrage, condemnation, and paralysis. How could they negotiate with criminals? But how could they fight an enemy spread across dozens of systems? The debate went in circles while more people died. Haiyan Wu watched the news from his ship. He had encountered the Syndicate before. They were ruthless, but also organized. They controlled illegal markets, ran protection rackets, and exploited people who had nowhere else to turn. They were everything wrong with the galaxy, concentrated into one massive organization. But they were also a symptom, not the disease. A message arrived on Haiyan Wu's private channel. The sender was Insu, a human who ran a significant portion of the Syndicate's operations. Haiyan Wu knew him slightly, had even worked near him on a few occasions. Insu was smart and dangerous, but also pragmatic. "We need to talk," the message said. "Private. Just you and me. I have information about the Syndicate leadership, but I need guarantees." Haiyan Wu knew it was risky, but he agreed. They met on a neutral station, in a private room with no weapons allowed. Insu was older than Haiyan Wu, with gray hair and scars that told stories of a hard life. He looked tired. "I want out," Insu said without preamble. "I joined the Syndicate 20 years ago because I had no choice. I was a refugee from a failed colony. The Council wouldn't help us. We were too small, too poor, too unimportant. The Syndicate offered food and shelter. So I joined. And now you're a crime boss," Haiyan Wu said. "And now I'm a crime boss," Insu agreed. "I've done terrible things. Hurt people. Broken laws. I won't pretend otherwise. But I can give you the Syndicate leadership. The real leaders, the ones behind the attacks. In exchange, I want immunity for my people and a chance to go legitimate." Haiyan Wu studied the older man. "Why should I trust you?" "Because you're the one person in the galaxy who might understand," Insu replied. "You were cast out by your own people for doing what was right. You know what it's like when the system fails you. Most of the people in the Syndicate are like that. We're refugees, outcasts, people the galaxy forgot. The Syndicate gave us a place when no one else would. That doesn't excuse the murders." "No, it doesn't," Insu agreed. "But understanding why something happened is the first step to fixing it. You can kill the syndicate leadership and feel good about it, but another criminal empire will rise to take their place. Or you can address why the syndicate exists at all. Haiyan Wu took the information to Tae Min. The ambassador was horrified by the proposal. We cannot negotiate with the syndicate. They're terrorists. They've killed thousands, and they'll kill thousands more if we don't stop them, Haiyan Wu countered. But we can't stop them with force alone. Insu is right. We need to address the root cause, which is the council abandons entire populations. Refugees from failed colonies, species too small to matter, people in the outer rim where there's no profit. These people have nowhere to go. The syndicate offers them something when the legitimate galaxy offers nothing. Tae Min was silent for a long moment. You want to give criminals immunity. I want to give desperate people a second chance, Haiyan Wu corrected. There's a difference. The real criminals, the ones orchestrating the attacks, they face justice. But the soldiers, the workers, the people who joined because they had no other choice, they get amnesty and help to build real lives. It was the most controversial proposal in council history. Half the ambassadors wanted to execute everyone involved with the syndicate. The other half wanted to ignore the problem entirely. Tae Min presented Haiyan Wu's plan anyway, knowing it would probably destroy his political career. The debate raged for weeks. But then something unexpected happened. The younger species started supporting the plan. They remembered being dismissed and ignored. They understood what it was like to have nowhere to turn. And they pointed out that the council's traditional methods had failed for centuries. Maybe it was time to try something new. The vote was close, but reform won. A conditional amnesty program was established. Syndicate members who surrendered and provided information received pardons and support to integrate into legitimate society. Those who continued fighting faced the combined might of the council's military. Insu kept his word. He provided detailed information about the syndicate's real leadership. And that information was devastating. The top tier of the syndicate included members of several elder races, respected politicians and business leaders who publicly condemned the syndicate while secretly profiting from it. They used the criminal empire to maintain their power, to control resources, to eliminate rivals. The revelation rocked the galaxy. When Haiyan Wu presented the evidence to the council, several ambassadors tried to leave the chamber. Security stopped them. The trials that followed were the largest in galactic history, but the real change happened quietly, in thousands of small moments. Former syndicate members returned to legitimate society. Refugee programs expanded. The council started paying attention to the outer rim. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't fast. But it was. Real change, forced by one human who refused to accept that problems were unsolvable. Haiyan Wu's crew received official pardons. Ares' neural interface technique became the foundation for a new medical field. Jihu's reformed hacker collective helped establish communication infrastructure for underserved colonies. Donghaiyan opened a flight academy, teaching his innovative tactics to students from species that never before had access to advanced training. As for Haiyan Wu, he returned to the outer rim with Biora. They had more requests for help than they could handle, but they tried to answer as many as possible. Some missions succeeded. Some failed. But they kept trying. One morning, a message arrived at their ship. It was from a young Vrexian engineer named Kess, working on a remote mining station. The station's fusion reactor was failing. If it exploded, 300 workers would die. The council said repairs would take 2 months. The reactor would fail in 3 days. Kess had heard about the infamous human who shook the galaxy. She was asking for help. Haiyan Wu read the message and looked at Biora. She was reviewing their supply inventory, already planning the mission in her head. Ri was checking medical equipment. Ji Hu was plotting the fastest course to the mining station. Dong Hein was running pre-flight checks. His crew didn't need orders. They knew what had to be done. "Well," Haiyan Wu said, a small smile crossing his face, "let's get to work." The Resilient lifted off, heading toward another impossible problem. Behind them, the galaxy continued to change. The Council was reforming, slowly learning that age and tradition weren't the same as wisdom. Young species were finding their voices, demanding the right to be heard. Humans were no longer invisible or dismissed, and it all started because one man refused to accept that some people weren't worth saving. Because one crew decided that impossible just meant nobody had tried hard enough yet. Because sometimes the most rebellious act in the universe is simply maintaining your integrity when everyone else tells you to compromise. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the outer rim, an infamous human and his crew were already working on the next impossible problem, proving once again that humans didn't shake the galaxy through military might or ancient wisdom. They did it by refusing to give up, by choosing compassion over convenience, and by standing up for what was right, even when the entire galaxy told them to fall in line. That was what made them dangerous. That was what made them heroes, even if they would never accept the title. And that was why the galaxy would keep calling on them, one impossible crisis at a time. Because when everyone else said, "It can't be done," humans asked, "Why not?" And then they did it anyway.